What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bluegrass State of Mind, the show where three college roommates talk life, sports, and all the ridiculous things that happen in an apartment we like to refer to as Room 302. We're bringing you stories, hot takes, and the kind of late-night debates that probably should have stayed in the group chat.
So grab your headphones, sit back, and get ready for a wild ride through our past college life, sports, and everything in between. Let's get into it. This is Bluegrass State of Mind.
What's up? Welcome back to another episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. Let's try this again. Guess who's back? Back again. Hopefully for good this time.
Finally. We got everything straightened out.
Mason's connection seems to be a little bit better. Hopefully it will stay good and you won't go MIA anymore.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It could get bad again. Who knows? Regardless of that, though, we did have our last episode where we had Trey and Billy Joe on. Hope you all got to listen to that. I thought that was a great episode. A lot of people enjoyed that. But let's move right along. So let's kick things off, Mason, with the Cats. So we talked a little bit about this, but we have Ole Miss coming into Lexington this Saturday. Number 20, Ole Miss will visit Kentucky, both coming in at 1-0 records. Kickoff is at 3:30. Couple headlines, I think, coming into this game. Number one, I think the thing that, is driving Lane Kiffin right now is he is seeking that revenge win after last year's upset. And, it cost him a potential playoff position. And, Lane Kiffin is one that is fiery. A lot of people don't like Lane Kiffin. I think he's a good coach. I think he is. The way he goes about things may not be, what people like, but I think he gets the job done. Currently, the spread that I have it's 10 to 10.5. Is that what you have?
Yeah, I looked at it earlier and it was at 10 even.
Okay.
Even 10, yep.
But let's just talk a little bit about Ole Miss coming into before I pass it to you. Let me give some more stuff. So Ole Miss, their first game of the season was against a Georgia State team, 63-7. Their offense was phenomenal. They had 695 yards, 400 passing. Defense only allowed 69 yards allowed. Don't really know how good Ole Miss is. But you're playing against a Georgia State team who's not a Power 5 conference. Neither was ours, but Toledo, I think, is a lot better than Georgia State. Their quarterback, Austin Simmons, was 20 for 31 with 341 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I've seen a lot of people talk about security ball concerns for him. And then on the flip side of things, the Cats got Calzada, who only passed for 85 yards. And then we had Dante Dowdell, who ran for 129 yards. Our defense looked good, but what are some of your initial thoughts coming into this week's game? Like, what are because everybody else got to talk about it, but what are you looking forward to? What are you worried about? What concerns you moving into Saturday?
Yeah, obviously just looking forward to being able to watch Kentucky football again. But, the first game against Toledo, I think everybody will agree our offense just looked atrocious. Our passing
Yes.
game was non-existent. There was a couple of questionable play calls. It kind of reminds us of Kentucky football here in the last few years. Just some different things. But that's my biggest concern going into this game against Ole Miss is obviously our offense. And yeah, our defense. I'm not going to say they look great, but our defense looked okay. We played against Toledo, like you said. They're not a great team, but they're up there in contention. Projected to probably win the MAC. Them and Buffalo, I believe. But we still, we forced one turnover, did some. We gave up 16 points. We gave up 250 yards passing, 270 yards passing. I feel like we got after the quarterback some, but we still only had 3 sacks. I think it was only 6 tackles for loss. So I feel like against a team, coming out of the MAC, that's just something that we should perform better defensively. I know they were on the field a lot, especially with their offense and how bad they were.
Mhm.
But my biggest concern going into this weekend is you've kind of already mentioned it. But one, we spoiled their playoff hopes last year. We kind of went into that game. They were ranked, I think, sixth in the nation at the time. We just come off some bad losses to South Carolina and Florida, and we come in there and kind of win that one out of nowhere. And that was really our one bright spot of the season last year,
Yeah.
was that win against Ole Miss. So I just feel like Lane Kiffin's going to come in. He may try to beat us by 50, and depending on if our offense can put some points up, they may end up beating us by quite a bit. But
Yeah.
that just concerns me a little bit. Like you said, it's kind of a revenge game for him, and he's the type of coach that I think he's a good coach. I don't necessarily like him, but I feel like he's the type of coach who would come out there and run the score up, that little revenge game after last season. So
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely can see him running the score. That's the type of coach he is. One something else that I've looked into that I've found is our offensive coordinator. Me and you was talking about in our group chat. Like some of the play calling just didn't make sense. When you talk about the Toledo game, whenever they were backed up in our own end zone, and we ran that, it was like he had an option. It was a
yeah, it's
quarterback
like a
option.
play option, play action, read option, something like
Yeah.
that. But I mean,
Uh, but something. So I don't know if you've looked into, but I found something. So Bush Hamden, who we hired last year, or last year was his first year, against Power Five opponents, it's awful. Um,
surprising.
so I'm gonna give you some. So against Power Five conference, or against a Power Five school in 9 games, our points per game is 14.1. Against a non-Power Five, 36. Total yards per game against a Power Five, 288. Non-Power Five, 423. Passing yards against Power Five, 161. Non-Power Five, 212. Rushing yards against Power Five, 124 to non-Power Five, 210. Just a lot of inconsistency. And I've been reading on the Sea of Blue. That's where I got a lot of it from. They just talking about, the inconsistency, something that is alarming already. This being his second year. Could be on the chopping block. Obviously, that was a guy who Stoops brought in under his. I mean, he's under his coaching staff. So, and it's not surprising. I mean, you look at our offense last year and this year, and you automatically look and we struggle. We don't. Although we had the Dane Key, we had the Barry and Brown, we couldn't get it. Couldn't get on the ball last year. It felt like.
Yeah.
To make those plays. And that this year, think of how much harder that's going to be when you don't have those players that are playmakers once they get the ball in their hands, and you take that out. So I guess that's something I'm looking forward to, is seeing, what is the play calling going to be like? Are we going to try to mix some stuff up? I mean, I just think at this point, with the way that Kentucky offense is, I feel like you have to get creative. Like, and I'm not saying make these crazy plays, but he's got to find a way to, surprise these defensive coordinators, because most defensive coordinators, I feel like when you're scouting Kentucky, it's not very hard. I do.
No, it's not. And I think the biggest thing is, let's just think back to 3, 4 years ago. Our kind of motto and our staple was run the ball, right? Try to run it down people's throat. We had Benny Snell, we had Chris Rodriguez, we had these guys who could run it down your throat. And
Uh-huh.
then we brought in Will Levis. We brought in some of those playmakers like you talked about. Liam Cohen was so good at, mixing up play calls, getting creative, different things like that. And I think we kind of got away from, our staple, which, they used to call it the big blue wall, right? We used to be
Yeah.
so good up there in the trenches. And we had a guy at quarterback who could make those throws, make plays with his legs, get creative. And we
Uh-huh.
don't have that now. And, so we have to find something that we can rely on, something that we can go to, and that has to be our staple. We can't be trying to throw these I mean, like last game, Zach Calzada, he's out there throwing 50-yard passes that are 20 yards past the receiver. They're not
Yeah,
even
there's not
close.
many. Yeah, they
You
were
know,
not.
play to our strengths, and I know we may not have a whole lot of strengths on the offensive side of the ball right now, but
Yeah,
we got to get back and find something because these last couple of years, we haven't had that true identity like we had, the 4 or 5 years.
yeah. Uh, but I mean, it is something though it concerns you because the motto is people say, well, defense wins you championships. I'll be honest with you, I am 100% against that. Uh, I think the modern day, uh, I don't know. I don't want to fully go against it because I'm sitting here watching the Eagles. Like I think of last year's Super Bowl, the Eagles defense was so good. But at the same time, you've got to be able to put points on the board, and you can't rely on your defense. That's
Yeah,
only going to take you so far. So we don't have an offense to do that, I feel like. And that's something that I think that Mark Stoops, and, Bush Hamden, they're going to have to change that. Yeah, they're going to have to change it completely for Kentucky because I feel like it's not just us. It's the entire, like, after watching that game, we're just like, what are we doing? Like, are we still going to be this same Kentucky team that cannot have explosiveness, that cannot get down the field? Like, who are we? Like, what are we? And that's the way it is almost every year, it feels like, other than maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
yeah.
Um,
And like you said, our defense is solid, yes, but you get the SEC play and your defense is on the field 65-70% of the game. They're going to start tiring down, after 5-6 games into the
yeah,
season, going up against these SEC teams every week. And that's what I was getting at before too, like that's why we were successful before is because yes, our defense was pretty good, but also our offense could sustain drives, run some time off the clock. We were good at we had a game plan. We stuck to something.
yeah,
We were decent at it. But now it's just like we don't know who we are.
yeah. Well, let's flip things over and let's go to the NFL. Currently, the we are sitting here watching the Eagles and Cowboys play. It is currently right now on a weather delay. But let's just talk a little bit about what we see out of this game. We don't have to dive deep, but more than anything, though, this was just like perfect for our podcast. Let's talk a little bit about defensive tackle Jalen Carter getting ejected the first play of the entire, like literally the first. No, well, it was kickoff, and then he came out on there. But anyways, Dak Prescott, if you all are listening to this and didn't watch Dak Prescott, I'm sure everybody knows who that is. It's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. They come in, the offense takes the field for the very first possession, and then the defensive tackle for the Eagles, who apparently is the best, their best player on the defensive side of things as far as their front line goes, um, gets in his face, which happens quite often, but then proceeds to spit on Dak Prescott right in front of this referee. And then he gets ejected. He's done. So, Mason, I think that is one of the lowest things you can do is spit on another man. I just think that is childish. I think that, yeah, like if you want to talk trash, sure, go at it. I mean, it's sports. I mean,
Yeah.
there ain't nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. But I feel like you at some point got to have a little bit of common sense and know, like, there's a ref beside me. I know you're rivals. I know you're in the same conference. Like, I get it. I get all that. I love it, and I understand you want to make it competitive, and you don't like each other, and you want to send messages. But sending messages is not. I just don't think spitting in another man's face is something that ever should be done. Like that just doesn't, that doesn't make sense to me. Even Claire was sitting there watching to me. She's like, "Are you kidding me? Like, what in the world? He doesn't deserve to play the game.
I
That's not
agree.
that." So, what's your thoughts on that?
No, I agree completely. I mean, I think it's so disrespectful. I mean, like you said, I get, talking a little bit. He's a defensive lineman. You want to come out and set the tone and, hit him a little bit, hit him hard on the first play, first time he drops back. I get that. It's the NFL. You're trying to set the tone, but spitting on somebody else, you haven't even played a snap yet.
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean, that's just so disrespectful. I really hope the NFL finds him of some sort.
yeah,
I don't,
absolutely.
I don't know
And
if
I've
they'll
also,
suspend him anymore, but that's just to me completely unacceptable.
yeah, it's unnecessary. Get them out. I mean, there's just
Yeah.
not. I don't think there's any room for that at any level. Um, even the professional, and they are professionals. And I hope
Yep.
that the league sends a message. Something else that I've noticed. I don't know if you noticed as well, but they had said that they've cracked down this year on taunting.
Yep.
That is going to be a very, very, I think, important uh, piece to add on because you talk about taunting has went a long way. I feel like,
Oh
and
yeah.
whenever people, if you will tackle somebody or make a big play, I'm all about celebrating. But I think it's the
Absolutely.
initiative to go to that
Towards
other
somebody.
player, yes, and enforce like your presence, and you want them to know. That's where I agree. Take it out. I
Yep.
think like there's no sense of it, and I hear right now. I can hear some old timers saying, "Well, back in my day, like I
It's
get it.
soft now. You're
Yeah,
soft.
I saw like that. I'm not saying don't talk smack. I'm not saying don't like throw some cheap shots here and there. Like I get that. That I mean that's football. Like but
Yeah.
making it, I guess, to where everybody in the entire stadium can see you and the referee, like that's why they're trying to eliminate. Because this game, if you watched it, I mean, if anybody's watching this game, I mean, it has been
Chippy.
multiple, yeah,
Yeah.
multiple times they've had to break it up already.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
what are
think
you?
go ahead.
No, you.
I was just gonna say, I think that's part of it, that like you said, I completely agree. You get a big sack, go ahead, celebrate, do your dance, you score a touchdown, do your end zone dance, whatever. But I think that taunting is just them trying to eliminate that scuffle and that altercation.
Hmm.
Because somebody gets up in your face, it's kind of like, dude, all right, I'm here. All right, you're gonna
Yeah.
come at me, I'm gonna check you back. And a lot of these guys, they have big egos, they have a lot of pride. And yeah, I think it's just trying to eliminate the altercations and things getting further. But I'm all about celebrating after something big. Just don't get up in their face.
Speaking on taunting, this is a little off topic, but I think it goes hand in hand. Did you see Tom Brady's interview? Did you see that where
Uh,
they had said that maybe this is why that he has part ownership of the Las Vegas Raiders, and they was like maybe this is why they passed upon Shador. It's a quick little clip of Tom Brady explaining how he would rather see a quarterback run to the end zone and cheer with his teammates and praise his linemen and be there for your teammates rather than doing all these dances right there after you throw a touchdown. And he may even done that. I don't think he done this like what Shador does, but he was like doing something with his hands. And I was just like, like, because he said, I made it a he said, I made sure that every time that we scored, I went down and I celebrated with my team. This is a team game. He's like, I could not have done what I had done without my lineman blocking, my running back. And he didn't go into detail, but that's pretty much what he was saying is
yeah,
this was our touchdown. It wasn't my touchdown. And it makes you think because somebody had said maybe this is why they had just brought that to light, and I could see that. But I do think that, you see videos of little kids these days doing a lot of just showboating and they
yeah,
get that from these professional athletes. So I think it's very important for these athletes to understand, the spotlight that they have, the roles that these kids look up to, not just football, but basketball, football, baseball,
absolutely.
soccer, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, but anyways, back to the Chiefs, or not Chiefs. I'm sorry, well, I don't know the Cowboys and Eagles. Um, what are your thoughts on the Cowboys?
Well, I'll say this. They looked a lot better to me. Offensively, I know defensively, the Eagles have pretty much scored every possession they've had the ball. But
Mhm.
I think this is a promising thing for Cowboys fans, just seeing that they've been able to come out. I saw, the stat. I don't know if you saw the stat right after halftime. They scored 20 points in the first half, which is more than they scored in any half or any first half all year last year. The most they scored last year was 13 points in the first half.
Not,
And you didn't see that?
I didn't know. That's. I mean,
Uh,
that's says a
yeah,
lot.
and I think Dak looks a lot better. He's had a couple down years, but there's been a couple plays where he's, kind of showed some of that old Dak, what we saw a little bit at
Did
Mississippi State. We saw a couple years, first couple years that he was in the NFL. I think he looks better. I haven't seen a whole lot from George Pickens. I think he does help open up for CeeDee Lamb. People have been talking about that. But I think their offense looks good. They do have to get some stuff figured out on the defensive side of the ball, stopping the run, things like that. I think everybody knew that was going to kind of be an issue. They're not really getting pressure on the quarterback right now. Micah Parsons came over to my Green Bay Packers, huge pickup for us.
Yeah.
But I think this has got to be promising for Cowboys fans. They've had some pretty down years the last couple of years, and I think they may not win this game, but I think they're at least excited, to see this
Yeah.
offense.
I think the biggest story for me, Mason, is that Dak Prescott is a good quarterback. I think he's a top 6, 7 quarterback in the NFL. Year in and year out. If you actually look at his numbers, they're not bad. They're good numbers. It's just the fact that he can't deliver when it matters, like in the playoffs. But
Yeah.
in the regular season, Dak Prescott is a good quarterback.
Yeah. And
And
I'm gonna say this. I don't know that it's so much that he can't deliver in the playoffs. The Cowboys
yeah,
have been known for that the
yeah, no,
last,
it's not
10,
just
15
him.
years. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, but yeah, everything always
Yeah.
goes back to the
Oh, yeah.
quarterback.
Yeah.
Um, as far as the Eagles go, Eagles are eagling. They look good. Their
Yep.
offense. Jalen Hurts has become a star. I think the ability that he has to scramble and then use his feet, but the difference between Jalen Hurts and a lot of other quarterbacks who use their feet is he uses his feet wisely. He knows
Yes.
when to slide. I don't know if you knows, like the dude slides all the time. He knows that,
Yeah. He's
I'm
not
not going to
taking
take a
hits.
hit.
Yep.
There's no reason for me to take a hit, but at the same time, I'm going to get when I can. I'm going to get on my feet and get some yards. He scored 2 touchdowns already. Uh,
Yep.
but he also can make the deep ball. He's a threat there. So, but
Mhm.
talk about weapons everywhere. Still, you got Saquon Barkley, you got AJ Brown, you got Smith, and then their tight end. I can't even think his name.
Goddard.
Yeah. So the Eagles still look promising. Could go back to back. Following, after the Chiefs had just went back to back and they won last year. But it's going to be a fun NFL season. I'm already excited. I told Claire I was pumped. I'm like, man, it's football's back. In
Yep.
all
I agree.
assets, it's all back.
And a little bit on Jalen Hurts. I think he's very underrated. Like you said, I think he gets a lot of hate because of that, running quarterback, but he's so smart about it. Like you said, he finds ways out of the pocket. He creates something out of nothing. And like you said, he doesn't take hits. He's like, all right, I'm gonna pick up these yards and get down, keep myself healthy, and he can make the deep ball. He had a nice deep ball there at the end of the first half
Yeah,
to
it's 51 yards.
Jahan Dotson. And yeah.
Well, we are going to now move on to our next segment. Mason, the question that I have proposed is a kind of 2-question part. But the first one that I want to know is the announcer's jinx real? And then we'll talk on that a little bit. And then the next question to go along with that is, are you superstitious? So Mason, do you believe, and don't just say, don't give me a yeah, no, give me do you believe that the announcer jinx is real?
I'm gonna say no. I don't believe that it's real, but I will say I think a lot of times, it's like, oh man, this guy has hit so many field goals in a row, and they say it, oh, they just keep saying it, and then that one time that they miss it, it's like, oh, they jinxed him, or he's hit 35 free throws in a row and he hadn't missed a shot yet. It's gonna happen at some point, you keep talking about it, it's gonna happen. So I feel like everybody just kind of rolls with it, whenever they hear it and they're paying attention. It's like, oh, the announcer's jinxed. He missed the free throw. He's made 24 in a row, and now he missed this one because they said something about it. So I'm going to say no. It does feel like it happens, a lot, but I think that's just because the announcers they always bring up, streaks or things they've done consistently, and then that happens.
Oh, I disagree. I think it's 100% a real thing. I think that too many times have I been on my couch watching whatever sport it may be, golf. Scotty Scheffler has made every putt within 5 feet of the week, and then as soon as he says it, miss. Basketball. He's made, like you said, 15 consecutive free throws, whatnot, in clutch situations under 2 minutes. Miss. Uh, football, or it's not as much maybe on football, but you really pay like basketball's the one like on the
Yeah,
free throw line. Like you're just like,
yeah, for
why would you
sure.
say that? Like what are you doing? Like that you don't have to say that. I know you are an announcer or you're a commentator, but you don't have to say anything like that. And even commentators themselves, I think that a bunch of them think it's real, and that's why they say it because they're trying to uh get
So,
clickbait or something.
so if you were an announcer or commentator, and you're doing it, depends on what game it is, if you're saying it or not. Is that what you're saying?
Oh,
Like if
absolutely. Now, if I'm,
if it's Duke
yeah,
or
I mean,
somebody.
yeah, I would most definitely say it. But if it was somebody like Kentucky, there's no way I would say something that's like they have never done this in the past, whatever it may be, or they haven't done this
Never
in the
blown a
past.
lead when they were. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's just like asking for it. I just don't get it. But along those same lines, are you superstition? Then give me some examples of like, and I've got some things I wrote down even from my high school days,
Yep.
college days to today. Like, what are some, maybe, and I guess let's keep it maybe sports related, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, what are some of your superstitions that you have?
Yeah.
And I'd say some of
So
them are the same.
yeah. So I mean, one of mine, going back to my high school days, little kind of backstory here. I used to always eat a package of Skittles before a game, like Marshawn Lynch. I used to always have to eat Skittles before a game. All right. Senior year, I think we were like, I don't know, we lost like one game all season, maybe two. And the concession stand at the high school didn't have any Skittles before the game. So I didn't have my Skittles. Worst game I played all season by far. I mean, I was like 2 for 15 from the field, 8 points. They couldn't hit anything, played terrible. We ended up losing that game. And, I was just like, man, in the locker room afterwards, and all depressed and, upset with myself and mad. And my
Press. What
assistant
in the world?
assistant coach at the time, yeah, man, I was fired up.
Y'all get
And my,
press in high
huh?
school? Y'all have
Do what?
press conferences in high school?
No, no, I said depressed.
Oh, okay. I thought you
No.
said the press was in there. I'm like, hold on now. I didn't realize that
Yeah,
Madisonville,
yeah.
North Hot, they got down like that. Had the
No,
press conferences in there and whatnot. Man,
no, no. So my assistant coach, he comes over and sits beside me. He's like, "Hey, it's all right. Head up next game." He's like, What's going on? Talk to me." And I was like, "Didn't have my Skittles." He was like, "What?" And I was like, "Coach, I eat Skittles before every game, and the concession stand didn't have any." He said, "All right." He walks into practice next day with like one of them big boxes from Sam's, with like 40 Skittles in it. He's like, "Here you go." He's like, "Bet you don't run out of Skittles no more the rest of the season." I was like, "Thanks, coach. I appreciate that." So that was one of my big ones growing up playing sports. Go ahead, I'll let you share one, and then I can go into some others.
well, I have one very similar to that. So two of them in high school that I grew up. So in high school, the first thing was I never ate on game day. Now, when I say ate, I meant like I never would eat before the game. And even in college, I didn't. I don't know if you remember, but like I would
Yep.
eat lunch. In high school, when my parents would bring me lunch, or in college, I would eat at the calf that lunch. But at if lunch was at 11:30, I would not eat a single thing till after the game. Uh, the one time I did, very similar to you, was the first round of the region tournament. Our coach took us to a Colton Steakhouse. And, I'm at Colton Steakhouse and we didn't play for another like 3 hours. And I was like, I guess I'll eat. I never do, but I was like, kind of like, man, I'm at a steakhouse. I need to eat something. So I cannot remember what I got, but I want to say steak, but I don't know if I did or not. But I did eat. Uh, and yeah, we won, but the entire game, I just felt like there was food all in my stomach and I felt terrible. And I was like, I'm never now. I didn't play just terrible, but I didn't score a lot, but I did have like 21 rebounds. So I did do well on that. But I'll just so I never did eat. So that was a very big superstition of mine. And then my other one was I always had to take a nap before the game. Um, I would always lay down in my living room in high school and then even in college. I don't know if you remember me sleeping on the green couch.
Yep.
I would always get, whether it was like a 20-minute nap or an hour, I would lay down and I would take a nap. That was a big one of mine. I had to get like some type of nap in. Um, is there any other things that you had in as far as sports go when you was growing up?
Yeah.
Like, I always had to have
W
the same socks for away and home. Like, I
Yeah,
always had to wear the same socks.
I would wear the same socks. I was very particular about, what I wore for home games, what I wore for away games, all that. Typically game days, same thing in high school. Uh, I guess not so much in college, but in high school every morning, I'd go that morning before school, like a little shoot around before school. That was kind of my game day routine. Um, and then kind of transferring into, like watching sports now. I'm not gonna say I'm like hugely superstitious when it comes to watching sports, but like March Madness, like if Kentucky's on a run or something, and I watched the game in a specific spot, or I had on a certain shirt, I'm like, all right, gotta wear that again. Like last year, when we played Illinois, I remember I had to have on the same thing, watch it in the same spot, all
Mhm.
those things. So not super, but when it comes down to like tournaments and things like that, and teams on a good run, then I kind of get like, okay, yeah, let's just keep the same mojo, so they'll keep the same mojo.
Yeah, no, with Kentucky, I'm awful. Like, I can like, if for they're playing good and I'm not watching it, and then I turn it on and they start playing bad, I'm immediately turning it back off. I'm gonna keep up with it, but I'm
That's right.
immediately turning it back off. Like, there's no way that you can convince me that like, I'm just that's not going to happen. Um, Another one that I would do is I would always end with a free throw in high school and college, and I would go sit down at the bench with 2 minutes left. Like, that was my when I saw the 2 minutes, I would walk. I made sure I got my free throw in at like 2:15 and then head towards the bench at 2 minutes. Um, translating the superstitions into golf, I've noticed that that's a
Mm,
big thing with me. For example, like the putting order. If I see that people like my team
yep.
on a scramble team is, making a lot of putts, and then somebody's about to hop in there, and I'm like, no, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Whoa.
what are you doing?
Yeah,
Get
don't
back.
change up the order. Yeah.
Like, we're not doing that. And then also with the coin or whatever your marker is for your
Uh-huh.
putter, like if you get one high, I feel like a lot of people though, that's the same. Like, everybody has
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, but as far as like really, really weird ones, I don't know if there's anything else in golf or like, I mean, that's really the only sport that I play now as an adult. I mean, you too,
Yep.
right? I mean,
Same. Yep.
so, but like, I know like some people, they may like, I don't know, take a certain amount of practice swings every single time. I probably stay
Yeah.
close to it, but I don't think I'm like the exact same like every time.
Yeah.
But any other superstitions that you have?
Nope. I think that's it.
All right. All right. Well, this is something we done new last week. I think a lot of people enjoyed it, and we had a blind ranking with Colton, and I don't know. I think you got to see it, hopefully. But we did a blind ranking of the greats, and I was hoping to have you on here because I was wanting you to take up for LeBron
I
and
know.
put
I've
him
seen it.
closer.
I've seen it. I know.
So that was
You
that
should
let
have
me
saved
down.
that one. You should have saved that one.
Yeah, I know, but it was still good.
It
So
was.
it is time for your blind ranking, Mason. So you know how it works. You are given 5 things, names, whatever it is, the topic that I'm gonna give you. You have to rate them in order from 1 to 5, and you do not know what's coming next. So tonight, your blind ranking title, or I guess the title of it being, or the topic, is going to be Will Ferrell movies.
Okay.
All right. So your first Will Ferrell movie I'm gonna give you is Elf. And
I
talk
knew
me
that
through
was
your
gonna come.
thought process. Don't just give me a
Uh,
number. Colton done a great job of talking me through it. So talk
yeah.
to me. Elf.
Oh.
And this is your this and you got this is your ranking, not
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
world. I want
Yeah.
yeah. So hit me. Elf.
I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna put Elf at right in the middle. I'm gonna put Elf at 3 to start. Not my favorite Will Ferrell movie. I think he definitely has some better ones. I feel like I, I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of the Elf show. I mean, I get the whole Christmas and all those things. It's just I feel like some of it's a little extra in Elf. I feel like he definitely has funnier movies, and so I'm gonna put it right in the middle right now. we'll kind of see
Okay.
where that goes. But I'm gonna put it at 3.
Okay. All right. Next one, Anchorman, and let's just do the whole series,
Oh,
just Anchorman in general.
oh, Anchorman's a good one. I really like Anchorman. I'm gonna put it above Elf. I'm gonna put it at 2. I think it's hilarious. Older one too. I remember watching that when I was pretty young. The first Anchorman, Santiago. But no, put Anchorman at 2. I like Anchorman. That's a good one.
All right. So we got Elf at 3, Anchorman at 2. Your next one, Semi-Pro.
Man, see, I should have put Elf lower. I knew I should have put Elf lower. Um, I'm gonna put semi-pro at 4. I really wish I could switch Elf and semi-pro now, but I gotta leave the number 1 spot open. Great movie, hilarious. Obviously sports related. I wish I would have moved Elf down lower, but I'm gonna put it at 4.
All right. Your next one. So you've got Semi-Pro at 4, Elf at
Elf at
3,
3,
and Anchorman at
Anchorman.
2.
Yep.
All right. Your next one, Step Brothers.
Oh, Step Brothers gotta be 1. Step Brothers is a classic. I haven't.
So much
I need to
more
go back
room
and
for
watch that.
activities.
Don't you touch my drum set.
Yeah.
Don't touch my drums. I need to go back and watch. I haven't watched that in forever. I need to watch that again. But Step Brothers is one for me. Instant classic. Something you can always just pull up with the boys, watch it as many times as you want, have a great time laughing at it. So I'm putting that at 1.
All right. So that means you've got the 5 spot open. Talladega Nights.
Oh man, that's another great one. Uh, Shake and bake, Cal. I can't feel my legs. Yes, you can. Don't do it. I can't feel my legs. Oh man, I really wish I could put Elf at 5 now. I almost did it, but I really didn't know what all ones you were going to give me. So yeah, that's still at 5, even though I do
Man,
not
what
agree
a
with that.
list. I feel like a lot of people are not going to agree with you, Mason. Let's go. You
Oh, I
got
know.
one Step Brothers, 2
Yeah, that's 1 for
Anchorman,
me.
and then you drop off 3
Yeah, yeah.
L, 4 Semi-Pro, and 5 Talladega Nights. There's going to be a lot of people who disagree with this.
I wish I could go. Oh man,
No,
I'd
it ain't
probably.
no wishing.
Yeah,
So,
I wish.
do you like your list? Colton liked his list last. Do you like your
No,
list?
I like my top 2. After
Yeah, your
that,
top 2.
I don't like that. I wish I could flip flop Talladega Nights and Elf, and I'd probably be happy with it.
Okay. All right. So let's move on. Let's talk about some NFL. Well, I'm gonna ask you, do you want to do NFL picks or college picks? We're doing
We can do
college
either
picks,
one.
right?
Yeah, that's
Well, I
kind of
feel
what
like
we're
it'd
keeping
take a
up
long
with, but
time. Yeah, let's keep up with
we
the
can.
college. Let me go ahead and mention some games for NFL, and then
Okay.
we'll get to our college picks, and I'm gonna let you take
Yep.
lead on that.
Yep.
So coming up this week, first full week of NFL, we're back.
Let's go.
So
Let's go.
starting Friday on YouTube TV tomorrow, when everybody's
Yep.
listening to this, you got the Chiefs and the Chargers. Then after that, you got the Buccaneers versus the Falcons, the Bengals and Browns, Cardinals and Saints, Panthers, Jaguars, Texans, Rams, Lions and Packers, Ravens and Bills, Dolphins and Colts, Steelers and Jets, Titans and Raiders, Commanders and Giants, Patriots, 49ers, Seahawks, Broncos, and Vikings and Bears. I think there are 3 games that really stick out to me personally. I know you're going to agree with one of them for sure. 2 of them probably for sure. First one being Friday night's game, the Chiefs and Chargers, talking about Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, the Pacheco, like you've got the Chiefs, how are they going to respond to losing the Super Bowl? Do they still have it? Are they still the Chiefs from the past, or has that ship sailed? Is that dynasty slowly deteriorating? And then I think the second game, which I think is going to be the most highly anticipated game, is going to be your Packers and the Lions.
Right, baby.
That should be a nail biter. I think that's going to be the game of the week. as far as, talk about talent and talk about the teams at the top of their divisions. Or wait, they're in the same division,
Same
right? No,
division.
yeah,
Yep.
same division.
NFC North. Yep.
But yeah, but regardless, so two teams who are at the top tier of NFL.
Yep.
And then the last game I would say that I'm looking at is the Vikings and Bears. I think that's very intriguing to me. The Vikings, having their rookie quarterback, the Bears making some changes at the head coaching position, and bringing in some people. How's Caleb Williams going to do in year two? Let's not talk about all the games. I want to talk about your game though, and you highlight that before we get to the
Mhm.
college pick'ems. Packers Lions. What about this
Man,
game? What do you think?
I'm excited. Like we all know, big Packers fan. We were one of the top defenses. I'm not gonna say the best defense, but we had a really good defense last year. Jordan Love kind of took a little bit of a setback last year, but I think the addition of Micah Parsons is huge if he can stay healthy. Seeing some stuff floating around out there, about him needing some injections and things throughout the season to kind of keep him going because of, I think it's an L5, it's something else, vertebrae. But I'm really excited for what the Packers can do. I think that there's a lot of, I don't know if you've seen them. You probably haven't because you're not a Packers fan, but there's a lot of different things floating around about, Aaron Rodgers during this season at this age won the Super Bowl. Brett Favre during this season at this age won the Super Bowl. This is Jordan Love's year. At this age, he won the Super Bowl. There was another one floating around earlier. Darian Kennard, the last, he won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs back to back. Chiefs, Eagles. Now he's on the Packers. Can he keep that streak going of winning a Super Bowl? And I do think that we have a good shot of getting there, but I think it's all going to depend upon Jordan Love and his play. And I'm also very excited to see Matthew Golden. Been a lot of hype around him coming out of training camp. Uh, Rookie receiver. A lot of people thinking he can kind of take that step to be our wide receiver one and be, that go-to downfield threat for Jordan Love. So really excited going in. Obviously, the Lions are still great. Some question marks there about offensive coordinator, what's going to happen with the Lions this season. Obviously, they're still loaded. They have all the talent on the offensive
Yeah.
side of the ball. But I think this is a good opener for us. I don't know that I agree with the line with us being favored, but I do. This is just me talking, kind of hoping, but I do think the Packers are going to win, and I think that's going to be a good jump for us. And NFC North's not going to be no joke this year. It wasn't last year. It's not going to be easy to win it again this year. So I think this is
Uh,
going to be a good jump in the right direction for us, and we can come out, and I have high hopes for us this year. I think it's the most excited I've been for a Packers team in the last 4 or 5 years.
yeah. No, it should be. I think it should be a great game. Talking about the Lions, they're loaded. They've got a lot of star talent. You talk about last year. I think if the most exciting team in the NFL was the Lions, but you
Hmm.
take that offensive coordinator now, and he's out of the picture.
Yep.
And what can Dan Campbell do? What will his um, you know I guess what will be the what word am I looking for here? What will he be known for? I'm trying to look for a word, but like what will he be known for with the Lions now? Because when you thought about the
Yep.
Lions, I just thought completely like you never knew what was going to happen. All these trick plays, fun, modern stuff. It was just
Go
like
for
wow,
it.
like this,
Risky, taking
yeah, like.
risk. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
exciting matchups for this week. You go ahead though, and let's get started on the college picks for this week, and then we'll end with our last segment.
Yep. So last week, I wasn't on here. I sent my picks in. We're going to kind of start keeping up with, we're going to pick, about 5 games every week throughout the college football season. Pick who we think is going to win
I
and
think
keep up
I'm
with our
winning.
overall. You're up one right now. Uh-huh.
I
Because we all
called that
picked a lot of the
LSU.
same. Yeah, you did. You did. Good for LSU. I think I said
Yeah.
it the podcast before that their whole season was going to depend upon that game, and they came out and won, and they got the talent. Their defense looks a lot better, so we'll see. But yeah, so we're going to go through about 5 games here. Me and Dillon will give our picks. Colton's already sent his in, and then we'll keep up with it throughout the season and see who's leading at the end of the season. So first game, Dillon, let's go with the Cats, Ole Miss and Kentucky. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not gonna sit here and say, "Oh, Cats all the way, we're gonna win." Like, if we're actually picking it, it's a competition, I'm gonna be realistic. I'm gonna take Ole Miss. At the end of the day, I want to be competitive. That's all I'm gonna ask. I think that this is it's not those type of games like are true setup
Oh
games,
yeah,
but usually those setup games are away games. Usually, like when you think of a setup game, you think of going into a crazy environment. It's like on a kickoff that's earlier, 3:30, the middle of the day, and probably not anybody tuned in. Other games going on that are much more important, and that's like everything that's going that's the exact opposite for us. Like, this
yeah,
is a game that's an in-conference game. It's at home, and I'm still gonna say it's a setup game for us because I think that I was listening to KSR, and they had talked about Lane Kiffin's, comments, and Lane Kiffin had said that his team had prepared for this game all summer long. The guys who were returning, that's all they talked about. He said that his team, that he truly feels that they have never been more prepared for a game than they are this week. That's
yeah.
scary because
I,
it's just
I,
I mean, this is just the second game of the season. So I'm going with
yeah,
the Rebels.
I agree. I'm going with Ole Miss, and I think that this game is gonna set the tone for the rest of this season. Kind of like you said, kind of a
Mhm.
setup game, but I think it's really gonna set the tone. If we're competitive, I think that gives this team some life. That hey, we can compete. We may not have the most talented guys on each side of the ball, but we're gonna play hard. We can compete. But if we come out and we just get blown away and put up 6 points, get beat 37-6 or something like that, I think it's going to be a long year for these boys. And so I just hope we're competitive. My score prediction I had written down earlier was 31-13 Ole Miss, and I don't see us putting up that many points, but we'll see what happens. So I'm going Ole
Nope,
Miss as
I don't
well.
either.
Colton win Ole Miss as well. So next game that we're going to jump into, let's go to the Iowa State Iowa game. A little bit of a rivalry game here. Uh, but Iowa State's 2-0, looking good right now. Iowa,
Yeah,
they looked okay, had a pretty big win. But who you got for Iowa State Iowa?
yeah. I don't know a lot about Iowa, but I did get a chance to watch a little bit of the Iowa State game when they played. Who did they play the first week? It uh,
Kansas State.
was it Kansas State? Yeah,
Kansas
because
State.
that was who we picked in. Um, with them, being 2-0, the big win against Kansas State, I'm gonna rock with Iowa State for this one. With it also being at Iowa State, I believe. Is that right? It's at Iowa
Yeah.
State.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Iowa State on this one.
Yeah, I'm rocking Iowa State as well. Iowa's always known for their defense. Not ever really known for their offense. But I just think offensive side of the ball, Rocco Beck, he's played solid so far this year. Uh, I think Iowa State gets the job done at home, and I think offensively they're just going to be able to put up more points than Iowa can. So
Yeah.
I think Colton went Iowa State as well. Next one here, let's go to the Florida and USF game. Interesting game here,
Yeah,
because
I'm not.
USF USF came out and put a beat down on Boise State. And Florida has a lot of talent. They're kind of up there in the talks of making the college football playoff if Lagway can stay healthy and perform. So who you got here?
I did actually watch quite a bit of the USF game against Boise State because we had talked a lot about Boise State and USF. They looked good. I
Uh-huh.
was, I usually don't tune in and watch those type of games, but for some reason I think it was like on a Thursday maybe or some. It was like one of the only games on that night. So I
Yep.
did watch that. Although USF did look good, I've not got a chance. Don't know anything about Florida. But I'm going to go with Florida here, with it being at Florida. Or no, is it at Florida?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Then yeah, I'm gonna go with Florida. SEC. I just
Yep.
That's really what I'm going off of, to be honest.
Yep. No, I agree. I'm going Florida as well. I do like USF. there's a lot of people talking right now that they could be one of the teams outside of that Power Five, group of five to make the playoff.
Hmm.
And I think they have the talent. I just, I, if it wasn't at Florida, I may take USF as an upset here. But I just
Yeah, I
going
could
into
see that
Florida, going
though.
into the swamp. Yeah, I mean, I definitely could. I think they have the talent. I just think going into the swamp, if Lagway plays even close to his capability, I think they come out of there with the W. So I'm going Florida as well. And Colton did too. Next game that we had on the schedule, we have another SEC team here. So we have Arizona State and Mississippi State. Who you like here?
Yeah, so cowbells. I don't really know. Didn't really get to watch Mississippi State or Arizona State, honestly, and I did not do research on our picks. So I'm just going to go with where's it being played at?
It's at Mississippi State.
All right, I'm gonna rock with the cowbells. I'm gonna go with Mississippi
All
State,
right.
and that's
All
that's all I'm
right.
gonna do. I'm not gonna lie. I forgot to do the research on that part, but I will go with them.
Okay. All right. I like it. Yeah, I mean Mississippi State, they've had a couple down years. They had Dak Prescott. They were pretty good there for a couple years. They're kind of in rebuild mode right now, and I think they're taking the right step. But I'm gonna rock with Arizona State. Sam Levitt, he's one of the highest paid um, players for NIL in college football. I think he's a solid quarterback. I think it will be a tough environment. That's not an easy place to play. I've actually been to a game down there where Kentucky played, and it's a pretty crazy atmosphere. But I'm gonna rock with Arizona State. I think they pull it out. I think Mississippi State's still a year or two away from getting back to being competitive against some of these better teams. And then Colton picked Arizona State. And then last game, probably, the marquee game of the weekend, biggest, ranked matchup and this weekend, another SEC team here. We got Michigan at Oklahoma. Who you taking here, Dillon? I think this is an interesting one.
Yeah, so um with it being at Oklahoma, if it was at Michigan, I would take Michigan probably without thinking about it. However, though, I am still going to take Michigan. I'm just not going to have to think. I'm just going to have to think a little bit harder. Bryce Underwood, I think he looks good for his first game. Had 250 passing yards, and then the transfer out from Alabama, Justice Haynes, he ran for 150 yards, had three touchdowns. And I know that some people may say, "Well, Oklahoma, did you watch their game? They looked good." I didn't watch their game, but I did look up and watch some of the stuff and read on it. They had a very strong outing, season opener. Their QB John Mateer, I guess how you say,
Here.
had 392 passing yards, three touchdowns, setting a record for an OU debut. I just think that this I think this Michigan team could be a very dangerous team, giving more time. Um, I think that this is a team you'll see throughout the season. They're going to be one of those that you don't want to see in the playoffs. Because of the growth that I think Bryce Underwood's going to have, and then also having that experienced Justice Haynes running back from the SEC. I just think they're a dangerous team. Um, Oklahoma, I could see here being, tooting their own horn, coming off a huge, like, explosive debut, and then getting not smacked in the mouth in the sense of they're going to get beat down, but just like, okay, a smack of reality, like, okay, let's calm down, let's push the brakes a little bit. So I'm gonna
Yep.
go with Michigan here.
All right. I like it. I think originally when I saw this game on the schedule, I was leaning Oklahoma. And I feel like a lot of analysts, college football people, they're really high on Oklahoma right now. And I feel like some of that is just because of how bad they were last year. I still don't think this Oklahoma team's great. And, Mateer, gonna be a tough. I know it's at home, but still, going up against a good team, gonna be a tough test. Underwood, same thing. First game on the road, true road game, going into a tough environment. But I'm gonna rock with Michigan here as well. I think Underwood's very talented. They did look Michigan. They had a little bit of a down year last year too, but I think they looked a lot better in week one. Both these teams did, but I just think I think Michigan quarterback play. I think Underwood's a more talented quarterback here. If he can just stay poised there on this in this road hostile environment, I think Michigan pulls it out. And then Colton, he took Oklahoma.
There we go. All right. Well, there is our picks for the week. Let's get to our last segment of the night. Mason, we got about 10 minutes left. We're gonna pull some heartstrings on this topic. Thought we might go talk a little bit about something that we like would be a little off topic or a little different, but we're gonna do that. So, Mason, the question is, why does sports mean so much to people, the human race? Or let me rephrase the question, ask it towards you. Why does sports mean so much to you? Like growing up, why did sports? What does that mean for you?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest things for me, initially growing up is my family just loves sports so much, and that was kind of something that I grew to love as well. My grandparents, for example, they had season tickets to football growing up. We used to always go to the SEC tournament every year, and it was really something that, I looked forward to and enjoyed. I grew to love. It was kind of something that every year, it was like, man, I get Saturday, I get a break from going to school or practicing or whatever it is. I get to go up there and watch Kentucky football. I get to cheer for the Cats. I might be a little bit upset after the game, if we don't get the win. But it just kind of gives you a break from reality, right? Gives you something to cheer for, something to
Mhm.
root for, have a good time. You also get to connect with other people, that you may not have got to meet before. It gives you a unique way to connect with other fans, players, every year. Another thing too, a lot of times, more so in college. Um, and professional sports, you still have, players moving teams in professional sports, but especially college, you just kind of get to see these new personalities and these new talents come in, and it's so exciting. And you get to learn these new guys every year. So I think for me, it initially started at a very young age, just because, like I said, my grandparents, my family were so into sports, and it was a way for me to connect with them. And we, me and my grandpa still today, every time that I seen we talk about Kentucky, whether it be basketball, football, whatever it is. So I think for me,
Mhm.
that's one reason why it means so much.
Yeah. Just from this doesn't necessarily have to be like a personal thing for me, but I think the reason why, when you talk about why does the human race itself love sports and have a love for it, I think it's the stories that is made, you know, the storybook endings. I think it's a way for a lot of people to, you know, find themselves, uh find an identity, and it kind of, escape, like you said, from the real world, but also though for some people, like, escape to provide a hope for something. Um,
Yeah,
because just say you could go to any professional team in any sport probably and talk and find some person who talked about, sports allowed me to have a future, to look forward to something because their home life was just awful. And, it provides a means of getting through tough times. And, they was able to escape from having to, probably be an adult at home and take care of their brothers, sisters, whoever it may be, family itself, and then just be a kid and, enjoy playing sports with friends and just, enjoying the moments of scoring a touchdown as a kid or hitting a 3-pointer. Um, but I think that's a lot of it. I think a lot of it is just, like people are able to find a sense of belonging and be a part of something bigger than themselves. So, because that's
yeah,
something that's like I said, we're pulling heartstrings here, but I mean, like that's a cool thing to be a part of. You especially when you win. Like, talk about that.
Yeah.
Like what does it mean to
And
be on a team? Like, why is that something that like you talk about golf? Golf is, I guess, the closest thing to being on your own, because you're the one actually having to make the shot, even though you have a caddy. But as far as being a part of a team, what does that mean, like for you? Like, why is that something that that you found enjoyment in?
yeah, I mean, it's growing up, I feel like coaches say this a lot, but it's kind of like your extended family, right? Like you're home away from home, right? Especially when you're big into sports, and you're doing the travel and your high school team, or you've had guys that have grown up playing together all along. Kind of like you said, it gives people another opportunity to form those relationships and lifelong friendships and kind of come together over something. And you spend so much time together, growing up, playing sports like we did. You're almost with those guys as much as you are your own family, and I
Mhm.
think it just gives you a way, it gives you somebody else to talk to, somebody else to, kind of open up to, uh, somebody else to connect with. And, you start talking about other things. Maybe you develop some new hobbies or whatever it may be. But I think the biggest thing is it just kind of gives you, like we've said, it gives you that escape. It gives you another place to go, if you need something. And I think another key factor in that is coaches. Not everybody's lucky enough to have a great coach going up, but there are a lot of impactful coaches out there that have had a positive impact on many young people's lives growing up playing sports. And I think that's another big factor of it, of why sports do mean so much to people. A lot of people probably have those memories and those connections that they made, and that's really what tied them in and brought them into sports.
Yeah. I think as far as though the team aspect, I think it's just like you said, you feel like you're a part of something, and you feel like that is your extended family, and that's important because a lot of people, maybe not have a family growing up. So, um, I guess the last thing that I would add on to this is it's really cool to start traditions. Like even though I don't tailgate, um, but like I know like that's something a lot of people do as a family. And by tailgate, I'm not saying it has to be the kind of tailgating that you probably think of immediately. It could be any type of tailgating as far as just like a barbecue. Or
Oh yeah,
coming over for some game night. I mean, that could be just because I'm saying tailgating. I'm just saying any type of where you get together for games. It's a
yeah,
for the weekend. Like that's the plans. Um,
yeah.
but no,
I still
I agree. I
remember.
think that sports it's
Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut
go
you
ahead.
off. You're good. No, I was just gonna say I still
No, I was
remember
just
like
I think
growing.
Mason, you go.
You go. Okay, I'll go. Okay.
Man, we was doing good.
All right. So I was just gonna say, like growing up, like the tailgate, like you were saying, like I remember going up there with my grandparents and their neighbors from back home. They used to tailgate every weekend, and we just go out there and grill, and I'd be running routes in the Commonwealth Stadium parking lot, catching footballs before the game. That's just a core memory that's drilled into my head that I'll never forget. That I'd love to do with my kids someday. So
Yeah, absolutely. And then just like you said, the connections. That's the biggest thing. I think that it's something that you want to pass on, and it's something that you and your kids can connect with. Like I know, I'm sure you want Beckett and Brees to be big Kentucky fans, Packers fans, and that a way like you can call each other even when they're moved out. You can call and talk about the games. Like even me and my dad, like we'll talk about Kentucky stuff. Um, Ever since I've started this podcast, he talks to me more about stuff about Kentucky, cause just to like give me
yeah.
some information about stuff. But uh, I think it's just really cool. I mean, it brings people together. Uh, I know it can get a little crazy at times, but for the most part, there's a lot of good out of sports. Have some crazy parents here and there, but we'll probably be those parents very soon. Uh, Good episode tonight. Glad to have Mason back. Hopefully he's back for good. The connection's there.
Or
Seemed like
good.
we went pretty good on this episode. But anyways, we'll be sharing on the Cats Saturday, 3:30. You already know what it is. As always, go Cats.
Go Cats.
That's a wrap for this episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, be on the lookout for our social media pages and be sure to follow them. We've got plenty more stories, insights, and conversations coming your way. And if you really loved it, make sure to share it with a friend. From the hills to the hollers, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep that Kentucky spirit strong.